when measuring, it's really important to look at your ruler. Not all rulers start at 0 at the very end, and some rulers don't even have the 0 written on them. Since when measuring, you always start at 0, this means you have to find where 0 is on your ruler, whichever ruler you're using. So I have 5 different rulers here, and they all are a little bit different. So let's look at where the 0 is. On this ruler, there's a 0 clearly marked on the inches side, but it's not at the end of the ruler. It's way in, right there. So when you're measuring, you have to make sure that you line up to here where you start. On the other side, the centimeter side, there is no 0 at all written, but you measure from the end of the ruler, because this line that you can kind of see, this large line, let's see if I can zoom in on it. It's at the very edge of the ruler. This is where you start measuring on the centimeter side. Since today, the project we're on, we're working in inches, we're going to stick with the inches side. So when you're starting to measure to make your marks, you always want to start from here where it says 0. This ruler almost starts at the end, but there's no 0. So you have to look at the marks. You can see the marks by the 1, 2, 3, 4. They're much longer. Those show you the end of the unit. So on this ruler, this is where the 0 is. So that means when you're measuring, you always start here, where this line is. Not at the end of the ruler, but where this line is. This is the 0. On the centimeter side, there is also no 0, but you can see the long line here. From now on, we're just going to stick with inches, since that's what we're measuring for this project. Here's another metal ruler. There's no 0 written on it, but you don't measure from the end. You can see there's a long line here. This is your 0. And again, if you look at all your whole numbers, they have the longest line. So you can tell the 0 and the 1 lines, they match. So even though there's no 0 written here, this is where you start. This is a 0 line. Now this ruler, you actually can measure from the end. There's also no 0 written here, but you can kind of see where the long line is right here. This blue mark. So on this ruler, you just start at the end. And so you want to make sure the end of the ruler is on whatever you're measuring. Here's another plastic ruler. Again, this one has a 0. So you can see the longer lines at the 1, the 0, the 2. Now this one's a little bit different because this also has longer lines at the half. So we want to make sure that, but this has 0 written clearly on it, so you know you always start measuring from here. And you're always going to be with the whole numbers for what we're doing for this project. So when you're measuring, make sure you look for the 0 or the line that means 0 on your ruler. Make sure that you're in the right units. In this case, we're in inches. If you were measuring in centimeters, the same thing goes. You make sure that you are at the 0 or the 0 mark, if the 0 is not written there, when you start your measuring.